Bezana no commissioner no ubaba unathi Mthethwa ngine problem yokuthi ubaba wakami usebenzela iSAPS. It's now 5 years akatholi isalary. 5 years akatholi isalary. Endlini akunakudla. Utloka 7:30 ekseni. Uphuma 4:30 emini. Uhamba ngezinyawo for 20 kilometers every day. Akunakudla endlini. Ukudla sidla nezingulube nezinja. Ialbani mangabe uyothatha isinkwe esi-expireile fanele sithola amalofu lapho ukuthi naye everyday akhona ukuthola isikhaftini. Abantwana babaxoshile esikolweni but yana everyday umuntu avukela umsebenzi.
Okay, ma.
Ama-sheriff angenile endlini ayarepossess. Ngibhalelile minister ngitshela yangiphendula iminister yathi indawo commissioner until now sola kuphumeleli uthi kufanele kwenzeke nje. Angisazi ukuthi kufanele ngithini.
All right. Now, for those viewers that don't understand what the lady was saying, she, in a nutshell, was saying that her husband has been working for the police service for 5 years. He has not been paid a salary, I beg your pardon, in 5 years. There's no food. He leaves the house very early in the morning. He works far away, has to walk 20 kilometers to get to work. They eat expired bread every day from Albany. That's the food that they do have. The children have been expelled from school because they cannot afford to pay the school fees that they have. Their house has been repossessed. Their furniture has been repossessed. She has written numerous letters with absolutely no response from the department, and she needs answers as to why this is happening to her. Now, this is a development that has happened because at the broadcast, the police commissioner and the minister said that they need to look into this. They couldn't comment. They needed to look into it. So from our Polokwane studios, we are joined by Solomon Makgale. He is from the South African Police Services. He's the head of communications there. Solomon, thank you for joining us and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Leanne.
All right. After Joanna's emotional plea during the SABC TNA breakfast briefing, we received a lot of comments regarding her husband. You heard the story, and I think what stands out really is that he's been working for the SAPS for a long time, 5 years, and hasn't received a salary. Did you look into this yesterday? What is the story here?
Yes, we're obviously concerned, and we immediately looked into it and gathered all the facts. What happened here is that in 2008, the member was dismissed from the South African Police Service after they absented themselves from work for more than 30 days without, so essentially they didn't report for duty. So in terms of our processes, you are then dismissed. The member then appealed against the dismissal, and our decision was upheld. They then went for arbitration with the SABC, and it was at that SABC the person that was representing the employer excuse me, the person that was representing the employer decided that they are going to reinstate this member, and as part of a settlement, and they did not follow due process, and that is why there was a delay. This person was then reinstated effective from the 3rd of April last year. They reported for work in line with this settlement that this particular individual agreed to without following due process. So our legal department then took this matter up and had to then try and, because a commitment had been made by somebody representing the employer, to see how this can be effected. And in line with our prescripts, we have to get authorization from the Minister of Police. We can't just reinstate under these circumstances without getting the authorization. This was done speedily, and on the 11th of November, the member was advised that their salary from April will be paid up to date will be paid during December. However, they will not be paid for the time that they were not at work up until the time of reinstatement.
Okay, let's talk timelines here, because you were only talking about last year. So the 3rd of April 2012 is when he was reinstated, that's correct. Then the 11th of November,
yes,
he would be back paid. Has he been paid?
No, as I indicated, the final decision was made on the 11th of November to say that
What
they
year?
would be paid.
This year or last year?
This 2 weeks, about 2 weeks ago.
2
so
weeks
this year
ago.
on the 11th of November.
And he's
yeah.
been reporting to work all this time.
Look, that part is still not clear as to what has been happening, but we know in terms of the documentation that we have, the person was supposed to report for work from the 3rd of April this year. So we still need to understand exactly what happened, but we then took a decision as employer to say this is one of those situations where the employer representative did not act in accordance with our prescripts, but we've made a commitment. We have to honor that commitment.
Yeah.
So that decision was made on the 11th of November, and it was indicated to the member that they would be paid during the month of December.
Yeah. You know, let's just go back, because he's talking about, Joanna, the lady who was talking yesterday, she's talking about 5
Yes.
years of no payment. How has this
Yes.
possibly been going on for 5 years?
As I indicated, the member absented themselves from work.
For how many years? How many years did he
For-
absent himself?
It was a long time. As I said, we're working on documentation. This just happened yesterday, so we're still trying to
we
gather
don't,
all
we
the
don't
facts.
really
But
have the
from-
facts right now, in other words. I mean,
No,
he's
no,
still
we've got all
over.
the we've got the facts
Okay.
sufficient to be able to talk to you to indicate that in 2008, this member was, after absenting themselves for a period exceeding 30 days, we tried to get hold of them to say what is going on, come to work. The member was then subsequently dismissed. The person then appealed. I mean, that process also takes time. Where they appeal, our decision during the appeal process, our decision was withheld. You then have to go to, in terms of the agreements that we have with our employees, you have to go to the bargaining council. That also another process where this member went to, and it was during that engagement of arbitration that the person who was representing the employer,
Yeah.
without authorization, without following due process,
Yeah.
agreed as part of a settlement to reinstate the member.
Yeah.
So when that happens, you've acted outside your mandate. There's still another legal process that has to be followed to say, this person acted outside their mandate. What is the process now going forward? Because they've committed the employer. We cannot reverse that process.
Yeah.
So we then took a decision that we are going to follow that process of requesting the minister to reinstate the member in view of these circumstances. So that has been done.
Will he
and
be back paid?
That information.
Will he be back paid once it's all done?
Yes. So
For the 5
in
years?
next month, the member is going to be, in terms of the settlement that was agreed to at the bargaining council, the member will be paid from April 2012 up until to date. So we've then agreed with the member that from 2008, at the time that he had absented himself from work, up until the settlement was agreed to at the bargaining council,
Yeah.
they will not be paid. So they will
Yeah.
only be paid from April to date.
Okay. All right. Lieutenant General, I hate to be doing this, but I have to leave this interview because we've got other things to get over. But I have to invite you again next week because we need more on this story. I think that we're talking about houses that have been repossessed, families that are starving. We're talking about a man that's been going to work for 5 years who hasn't been paid a cent. And you're talking about paperwork. I'm not understanding the story. So we're going to invite you back.
Okay.
Lieutenant General
No,
Solomon
that's fine. I'll
Mofana.
do that with pleasure.
Good. Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
All right. We'll continue this story. We'll have to bring this more to you so that we can get more of an investigation underway before we can give you a correct answer.